Hello, everyone. So this morning I was out, as usual, driving. And as usual, I see a flower and I have to stop. Well, I couldn't stop this morning because it was right in the middle of the intersection. So I went ahead and drove home, jogged all the way back over there, and look at this gorgeous flower. Like, how could you not notice this in your car? By the way, people know if they're driving with me, I need to find a bumper sticker because I always say I stop for flowers. So it's very common for me to be driving and even dressed nice in maybe a dress or something, and I will pull over, hop out, crawl in a field, and take a picture of a flower. Just saying. So I put this through my little app. Where here's the other flower. It kind of shows some of the little buds coming out here. And it said, it's interesting. I have an app called Leaf Snap, and I put everything through there just to make sure. And it said it was a daylily, an orange daylily. It also referred to it as a tiger lily, although this isn't what I've thought of as a tiger lily. I've thought of the tiger lily as having those little spots. Anyway, so this is what I wanted to paint today, because look at these gorgeous colors, you guys. How can you not want to paint that? All right. What I'm going to do first, I've got let me set my little iPad down so I can use that, my picture, as reference here. Now I lost it. Okay. So I've got my reference photo there. I'm going to be using my Artisto paper. As you know, I love it. It does have that wonderful texture, and it's a little bit early here still. I get up and go to the gym really early, so that's why you see some of these fun shadows, which I love. But what I'm going to do first is go to my Painter's Diary swatches, and I'm going to look for the colors I want to use. So let me unhook my iPad again. And let's just kind of look through these colors. So I feel like it's got this Chinese red, and I really like this Indian yellow. It looks like it has some of the permanent yellow in it as well. So I'm going to use those three colors, and then let's see if I got a picture. So the greenery looks like a permanent green to me, or this could be yellow green if you're using your My Lang palette, which the Paul Rubens floral palette is you know, they're all very similar colors. So I'm going to use permanent green. I wanted to use kind of a limited palette. This Indian yellow, some of that Chinese red, because look at that beautiful red in there. So I think those will be the colors. I don't see a lot of this olive green, although I love that color. I see mostly this permanent green. Okay, so I think that'll be my color palette. I'm just going to swatch those colors out. And actually, let's see. This is what I happen to have sitting here. So I will probably use this palette. Let me see. Let me see if I can grab my floral palette. Here we go, the Paul Rubens floral palette. Such a pretty box, isn't it? This is one I use actually quite a bit because I love the colors in it. As you know, I'm a Paul Rubens fan. I pretty much predominantly use their colors. Okay. So we've got these colors. Let's go ahead and swatch them out just to make sure I have those. And first, I'm just going to give my paints a little spritz here. There we go. What do you think of this bottle I found in my art supplies? Isn't that cool? I'm all about the aesthetics, you guys. So that's the kind of stuff that really makes me happy. All right, let's swatch this out. I'll just use this. Let's see, boy, that barely fits. Okay. So let's swatch out the colors first. With our handy dandy swatch stamp here. There we go. Okay, which you guys turned me on to these stamps. I think they're great. And then let me grab, let's see. Let me open up my paints here and let's see which brush we'll use today. Okay, let's see here. I think I'll use, I'm gonna grab I'm gonna grab all of these because I always am using my 8 round, as you see, but this could be a good one too. So I think these are the 3 I'll bring out. This one could be good for some of that grass because the grass was quite thin. So I think these will be my 3 that I use. All right, let's get this swatched out. I've got my two waters, one to wash, one to rinse. This is that MEEDEN. I love it because it's so white and clean and just, it's so important to have both a wash and a rinse water. All right, let's swatch those colors. I'm going to use, let's see, with the floral palette, this was called that Indian yellow. I just really love it. It's like a, look at that. Isn't that gonna be perfect? There we go. So I think that's really pretty. Let me bring that picture over one more time. Yeah, I like that. It's a little bit maybe more lemony in this picture. In this one, it's a little bit oranger. I mean, I think that is exact. And then let's go with our permanent orange. Grab some of that here. Yeah, that's a good one. I think that's perfect. Okay. So we've got that. And then just a little bit of maybe that Chinese red, I think is really pretty. So I think that's this one here. Yeah, that is gorgeous. See that bright red in there? Does it amaze you like it does me? Just the colors in nature are so incredible. Look at that. Perfect in that floral palette. Then the last thing I will use will be the green, and I'm gonna go with they call it permanent green, but if you're using your My Lang palette, I'm gonna say that's gonna be like the yellow green. So, or sap green you could use, you know, any greens. That's kind of my go-to green is sap green and olive green. Yeah, there we go. That's pretty. I might just add in the tiniest bit of the darker green here. Just for maybe some shadowing. What you could also do, if you really want to stick to a limited palette, you could combine, this is always fun, and I like blending my flower colors into my leaves and petals. I just feel it brings this kind of fun coherency. So we could combine these two and watch the beautiful green we can create. So here's the green, and now I'm going to combine some of that Chinese red. Watch this, because they're opposites on the color wheel. Look at that beautiful green. Isn't that pretty? Now, what's again nice about that, I'm going to add in a little bit more of the green. Look at that gorgeous green. And what's really cool is when you create a green from this, it's, you know, your eye picks up the reddish in it. Just lighten that up a bit so you can see it. Your eye is going to automatically pick up some of that red in it, and it just brings this beautiful connection between the flower and the greenery. So that's kind of what I'm going for. I am using my Artistos, and then I'm going to kind of draw out. I love to use guidelines, otherwise everything kind of goes wonky for me. So let's grab, let me unhook that iPad again. And I'm going to, so it kind of had this center in here, right here. Hopefully you can see that. Sorry for the glare there. Let me try and hold this up. There we go. And then it had these 3 petals coming out. So I've got those. Let's go ahead and draw those. They're quite fat, wide, and I love, look at this. This is what I'm always talking about when you draw your petals, like draw them really organically because they're not perfect. That's what's so awesome about Mother Nature. And then let's bring this one around. Looks like it's got a lip on it. So we're going to add that in there. And then come down, and we'll draw this one here coming out. Let's see, it comes out about right here. And it's also got a lip on it. I feel like this one could have been a little bit bigger. That's okay. So this has, Mother Nature is so amazing how she just creates these gorgeous flowers. There we go. And then these other ones are just a little bit thinner, but we want to make sure they're pointing back the bottom of the leaves. So this leaf is pointing back towards the center. You want to always make sure they're pointing back towards the center. So let's just draw this one out. It's a little bit thinner. And then let's get this one. Look at how long and elegant this one is. So we're going to have this one come out like that. Isn't that pretty? So pretty. And then we have one more. Oops, and I'm going to run out of room. Darn it. That's okay. Years ago, when I was painting a lot of commissions, I always used to make my flowers run off the page. I just thought that was such a cool look. So that's what we're going for here. All right, I think maybe I'll just leave this here so I can kind of use it as a reference. There we go. Isn't that pretty? I'm going to go ahead and erase those little guidelines. I just really draw those in there so I can make sure all my petals are facing the right direction. Then let me use my old handy dandy brush. This brush here, you guys, is probably from, I don't even know if they make this brand anymore, Liquitex. That is from college days, you guys. The brush isn't really any good anymore, so I just use it to get rid of my pencil lines. All right, let's go ahead and get started. In the middle, there is yellow. So I'm going to go into the middle here and add some of that yellow, which we chose. Which color, which one did we choose? We chose, what is that color called? The orange yellow, or Indian yellow. I think I went for that Indian yellow. I really like. I might just use a tiny bit of that, permanent yellow medium as well. So I'm going to go into the center here and add that in. I'll have to figure out how I can do like a double screen and then you could see the yellow in there, just like that. And then just the very bottom of this one. So I'm going in with a little bit darker color here. Then I'm going to wash and rinse my brush, just tap it off a bit. And I'm going to go in and just feather that out. Wash and rinse my brush again, feather it out one more time. Look how pretty. What a great job that does. So just with a damp brush, I'm feathering out that line until it's almost completely transparent. So just touching in with the tip of a dry, thirsty brush and pulling it out. Look at that beautiful blend I can get doing that. So I'm gonna go into this right here, and I'm kind of making sure I don't touch the wet areas. And using a pretty thick concentration of that yellow. There we go. And then go in with that clean brush, just barely touching in to the edge of that yellow and feather it out. And I think I'll pull out that yellow, because I noticed that came out in each of the leaves. Here, let me show you. See this yellow? So I'm gonna go ahead and add that in there. And then let's do these two here. Isn't this fun? I love when I'm driving and I see a flower that catches my eye. It's like, oh, I gotta stop, I gotta get that. My husband, thank God, is so good about letting me do that too. Actually, he's into it too. Sometimes he sees things and he's like, oh, let me run back and get a picture. All right, so now I'm gonna wash, rinse my brush, tap it off, and just use the tip of my brush to go in there, rinse it off again, and now maybe pull out that line. Same thing here. Just feather that out. And there we go. Now that we have that, we can start adding in some of that orange and beautiful red. Yeah, that's nice. I like that. Isn't that a beautiful blend? I think what I'll do is work this way, kind of like a variegated wash. So I'm gonna work from this side inwards with that cad, or they're calling it permanent orange. Let's mix a little bit of that here on our palette. And it definitely has some of that red in there. So I want to use the Chinese red, which is a beautiful red, because I want it to be a little bit deeper in color. And then we'll work from the tip of the flowers downwards. And be careful with this color because it is pretty. See that, how bright that is? It's a beautiful color though. Look at that. Ooh, so pretty. So I'm doing the same thing. I wash and rinsed my brush. I'm just going to wash and rinse it again. Blend these two together. Isn't that gorgeous? I keep washing and rinsing my brush. Ooh, I love that. Look at that beautiful blend. So fun. That isn't just me, you guys. That is the beauty of watercolors. So I'm going to pick that up again and now work down on this one here. Just using the very tip of my brush here. Rinse it off, tap it off, and just do that same thing. Keep washing and rinsing my brush and joining the two of these together like that. And look, I'm even leaving some of that white in there. There we go. So pretty. So we'll work in a few layers here. Let's go ahead and do this one. And just coming down. Wash, rinse my brush. Tap it off. And remembering to leave some of that white in there. Tap off my brush again. And now we kind of blend these two together. Oh, I really like that Chinese red. It's similar to like an alizarin crimson. There we go. Okay. Really pretty. We're going to add some more red in here. Now, this one had quite a bit of red, so go in with that same red. Yeah, I really like this Chinese red. It's beautiful. It's kind of an orangey red. It's pretty warm. Now wash, rinse my brush, tap it off. Go in. Kind of pull out, wash, rinse again, tap it off. And we're just blending that in. We could even make sure when you're doing this, you're following the lines of the flower. So make sure your brush strokes are going in the direction of the flower, like that. Oh, so pretty. I could even tap in just a little bit more along this edge with a little bit more of that Chinese red. There we go. Pretty dry brush. Yeah, I like that. Love that yellow. Okay. We have another one here. Go in, grab some more of that red. This is the one that's literally running off the page. I don't know, there was always just something interesting to me about doing that. I only had one time in a commission I was doing where somebody said, "Did you mean to run the flower off the page?" That kind of bothered her. I laughed and said, "Yep." So there we go. Notice I left some white space in there. And then our last one here, we're going to go in. And wash, rinse my brush. Oop. And feather that out. Wash, rinse my brush again. So this is definitely a practice in washes and getting the feeling of that wash, just that damp and damp. And then I think, let me see. Let me look at my other picture. Nope. On this one, there's just a tiny bit of a shadow there. And this is a lighter yellow. So let's add that in. I think that's where I'll use that lighter yellow. And let's just go in there. And then I'm going to use a damp brush. Soften those lines. There we go. Has a tiny bit of the red in it. Okay, we are almost done here. I'm going to make the lip of that with some of that yellow. Wash, rinse my brush. So it looks like it's catching the sun. And there's a little bit of a shadow here. So this would be that perfect place to use that green mixed with the brown, the red. So let's just create a little bit of that. Here is our green. And then let's mix it with just a tiny bit of that red. And it's got that shadow. Let's see what that looks like here. So we could go along here. There's a little bit of a shadow. And there was one right here. A shadow like that. And then we had just barely a shadow here. So I'm just using that greenish color. And then let's do this was the yellow. That's where the leaf is folding over. So I'm gonna go in and paint that with the yellow. So it looks like it's curling over. Now I want to deepen the reds in those areas. So I'm going to use predominantly that Chinese red. Pretty dark value. And let's go into the tips here one more time. And then I'm going to lighten those edges a bit. So I've got that dry brush. There we go. Kind of that dry brush. There we go. Maybe a little bit on the tips here. Using more of that Chinese red. Don't want to get rid of that little white space I have there. There we go. A little bit more here. And then rinse my brush. Rinse my brush again. Yeah, I like that. There were a couple tiny bits of that red moving through here, so I'll just pull that through. Yeah, look at that. So pretty. We still need to draw the little sepals and such too. I'm gonna add a little more of that deeper, redder Chinese red under that lip. Go in, pull that out. Yeah, I like that. Okay, I think we're just about done. Isn't this so pretty? So glad I pulled over and grabbed this. There we go. That red's pretty intense, so you'll have to kind of rinse off your brush a lot there. And we have this little lip here that was more of a yellow. So I think what I'll do is I'm gonna go in and paint this more red because I want that little lip to really show up. Wash, rinse my brush. There we go. Yeah, I wanted that to show up a little bit more. Grab a little bit more of that red. Look how pretty. Oh my gosh, I love that. And I love the shadowy part. Actually, let's pick up a little bit of more of that. And it looked like there was just a tiny bit of shadow here. Just to shadow that edge. All right, let's let this dry and then we'll go in and draw our little sepals and such in there. And for the leaves, I think, because they're very long and they have kind of a crisp edge, so I'm going to use my angle brush, my number 8 angle brush, and let's go into, I'm going to use some of the greens I've actually gotten here, and going by my swatch, it's kind of a sap green, just a tiny bit of the olive green, because I just can't stand not to use that olive green. There we go. And we'll just start going in. Let me look at my reference. So these come out and they're very kind of swoopy. So that's perfect for this chisel edge on this brush. So, and if I put a little bit more pressure, look at that. We do need the stem too, of course. So let's create our stem coming down. Let's see. I want to make it kind of come down out of here. As long as it's heading back in there, I'm safe. There we go. And then we've got all these pieces that just come out. Pick up a little bit more green. Isn't that so fun? Oh my gosh, I could really end right here. What I'd like to do though is just create the little sepals in the middle there. So I'll switch to my other color, and those seem like they were kind of a dark brownish red. So I'm going to go for that green and red again. Actually, we could do that right here. So here's my red. Then let's add in a tiny bit of that green for the little pieces in the middle of the flower. There we go. And like that. And the little pieces were kind of a greenish yellowy color. So I'm going to use, let's see if this yellow is going to show up. Not really. So I'll just pull in some of the brown. Look how pretty, you guys. Oh my gosh. Just encouraging you, when you see flowers, like, get out and grab them. If you see something that catches your eye, that is what is going to really inspire you. So there you go. There is my lily. So fun. And I hope you guys will give this a try too. If you try and use, too, the way I drew it with the lines, I think that can be really helpful. All right, everybody, have fun.